Okay, so there's an old saying that goes, why buy the cow if you can get the milk for free? In today's society, has cohabitation become a step in the marriage process or just an easy alternative or replacement for marriage, if you will? Today, I want to define to you guys all what cohabitation is, why couples do it and why they believe in it, the different viewpoints of what people have, and the reasons why it's been proven to be unsuccessful, and ways and tips to prevent unsuccessful cohabitation. So according to Wikipedia.com, cohabitation can be defined as an arrangement between two people who are not married, who are involved in an intimate or sexually, or in an emotional or sexually intimate relationship, who live together for a permanent or a long-time basis. So this usually refers to couples who live together who are just not married, basically. Next, I want to talk about the top 3 reasons why couples cohabitate, and just the top 3 reasons why couples cohabitate and their viewpoints on it. The number 1 reason couples cohabitate is because plenty of people like to use cohabitation as kind of like a compatibility test, or like a test run for what it would be like if you were married to this person. Another viewpoint is there are a lot of people nowadays who who like to live their life in private and don't like other people telling them what to do. For example, they feel as though political or religious institutions should not be controlling them and stuff. And lastly, according to Princeton EDU, couples use cohabitation as kind of because it's easier than getting a divorce. Whereas a divorce, you have to go through all the court and all that money and stuff. Whereas when you cohabitate with someone, you can just pick up your stuff, pack up, and just leave, basically. So it's much easier, less stressful, and just not as messy. So the next thing I want to talk about to you guys is why cohabitation has been proven to be unsuccessful. There's a New York Times article by Meg J, and she writes, couples who cohabitate are less satisfied and are more likely to get divorced than couples who do not cohabitate. The reasons why she writes in this article is, number 1, couples don't really talk about what they want out of cohabitating. For example, she writes, women cohabitate as a step towards marriage, whereas men kind of are the ones who use it as the compatibility test and are the ones who kind of use it to delay commitment. And as a result of that, unfaithful relationships are created, and as the unfaithful relationships created through cohabitation, it follows them to marriage. So that's why it's unsuccessful. And lastly, there's I read an article by Sarah Walkman of the Daily Telegraph of London, and she writes about how people who cohabitate are less healthier than married people, and she writes about how cohabitants put up with behavior which married people would discourage. She talks about behavior like smoking, drinking, and substance abuse. And I could totally agree with that statement, because if you guys think about it, would you guys listen to your significant other when if they tell you oh, don't do this, don't do that? I think it's more credible if you guys are actually married, whereas if they're just with your boyfriend or girlfriend, you wouldn't care. So as a result of that, it leads to what she said, unhealthier relationships and just not committed relationships. So lastly, I want to talk about reasons to prevent unsuccessful cohabitation. I'm fully aware cohabitation is on the rise and unfortunately here to stay. I think we've moved into a society where it's okay to be doing that now, whereas before that was kind of looked down upon. So I want to provide you guys with examples or questions to ask yourselves if you guys ever find yourself in a situation like that. According to, I got this article from the New York Times. Yeah, New York Times. There was an article that lists, that states tips on how to just prevent unsuccessful cohabitation. Number one, you guys can ask yourselves, is this something you guys really want to do? And as a result to that question, really like ask each other if you guys are in the same boat. Like if you guys are in to do cohabitation to move towards marriage, then that's a good thing. But if the other person isn't and is just doing it just because, that's something you guys should distinguish earlier rather than later, because that will just prevent from like an unsuccessful marriage. And then secondly, you guys should ask yourselves if you guys like have fun with that person. I know that's like a stupid question, like, oh yeah, of course I have fun with them, but like you gotta think about, because you guys, like, if you live with that person, you live, breathe, and eat with them. Whereas, like, I thought about it, and it gave an example in the article about, like, a roommate. Like, if you have a roommate, you guys can just, like, go your separate ways at night, and, like, you guys don't even have to see each other anymore. But, like, if you live with your significant other, you kind of have to, like, sleep with them and, like, be in the same room as them. So it's kind of like, if they, like, make you mad more than they should, then, like, that's just, like, not good, and it's just asking for trouble. And then lastly, is it a good like financial decision for you guys? I know also one of the main reasons why people cohabitate, they think about it and they're like, oh, we're always together 24/7, we're always leaving each other's houses, like why don't we just like live together? But you guys should really think about financially, like if you guys can really like afford it, and if it's like really gonna like just benefit you guys in the long run. So today, I hope I've clearly defined what cohabitation is, why people do it, and the different viewpoints people have on it, why it's been proven to be unsuccessful through research and data and experience, and tips and ways to prevent like unsuccessful cohabitation. And I hope like the questions I presented to you guys think about for when you guys be put in the situation, because we're all adults in this room, and sooner or later we're going to have to be faced with a decision like this.
My sister's doing right now. She's cohabitating with her brother. So it's going to be 4 years. So I don't quite like everything you said. Like it barely applies to that. So I guess I don't like it.
Yeah, that's really good.
So Nicole, what did you think?
I think it was an interesting topic. I like how she defined what cohabitation is, because I didn't know what it was. Also, I like how she has a lot of support. But I don't know if she was trying to inform us or persuade us, but I think I finally got what she was trying to persuade us on. I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say.
All right. Well, let me go off of something that you were saying at the end. At the beginning of your speech, it sounded more like it was going to be an informative speech, especially the way you laid out those secondary points. It was only the last couple of points that began to make it sound like you actually have a point of view on the subject and that you're going to be advocating for that point of view. And I think that you need to state that earlier on in the process and have a clearer specific purpose statement. And then when you get those secondary points that are really background information and informative in nature, they're easier to understand why I'm listening to this, as opposed to, I'm not sure what the point is ultimately that you're trying to make. Because like I said, it'll end up sounding like an informative speech. I thought that you did a very nice job presenting it. You're not dependent on notes. You are looking at us. You have excellent audience contact. You look engaged while you're talking about it. I guess that's kind of an ironic thing to say. You look engaged while you're talking about that. You're not merely cohabitating. I like the research material that you had in it as far as it went. I do think that there needs to be some additional information. I often got hypothetical examples or scenarios or theories that are being presented without any proof that there is a subsequent outcome. For example, how much more likely are people to divorce if they cohabitated before they get married? You know, is there a statistical way that we could measure those kinds of things? You know, what are you more likely to have financial problems or difficulties if you have this roommate situation? What behaviors, you mentioned behaviors that people put up with more, and I'm going, okay, well, I can kind of understand if they're just cohabitating and you are not committed to each other. I'll put up with your smoking, drinking, your drug use, whatever, your whoring around, whatever the hell it is that they're doing. You know, but if you were married, it seems like it'd be less likely. But this is another one of those places where some hard data, I think, would be helpful to follow up those things. This is all sounds very speculative and theoretical in nature, like somebody is proposing writing a paper on this as opposed to having done the research on it, and now they're summarizing that research. I heard a speech very similar to this yesterday, and they cited a couple of the same piece of information that you had. And they also had a little bit more information that talked about some of those issues. So that's probably what made me think of that as well. Okay, thank you.